all. I am in week 3 of a series of videos, as I do as part of these weekly video blogs, looking at life lessons from Jesus. And if you've watched the last couple, I went through and looked at the life of Jesus and how he lived his life and the things he did, figuring that his life is worth copying or emulating or learning from. And as I did, I noticed there was a bunch of life lessons that you can take just in how Jesus lived his life. And so this is the third week, and the lesson that I pulled out of for today is the idea of how we embrace or don't embrace uncomfortable situations. Jesus had a marvelous ability to not avoid or run away from uncomfortable situations. He didn't necessarily seek them out, but when they happened, he didn't avoid them. There's a great story, and this happened numerous times, but a really good one story is found in Luke 7. Luke was a doctor who wrote about Jesus. And there's this particular dinner that Jesus gets invited to, a dinner party at a prominent person's house. It was a Pharisee. So they were people with money. And Jesus is in all likelihood gathered around the table with lots of locally important people, having a nice dinner in a place that, was really meant for the elite. Now, as part of those dinners, sometimes other people were allowed to at least come in and stand on the edges and kind of hear what the spiritual leaders would talk about. And in this particular case, a woman heard that Jesus was at the house. And she's described by Luke as a sinful woman, a woman who didn't live a life that she could be very proud of. In fact, the kind of life that we look around at people and think, it's crazy in all the things she had done. But she showed up, and she was so overcome with Jesus, she stood and she began weeping. Not just a little crying, but like weeping, so the tears are running down her face. And those tears begin to drip on Jesus' feet. And so she bends down and she uses her hair, probably longer hair, to wipe his feet. And then she had perfume and she anointed his feet. And all this is going on during a dinner party. We probably can't even fathom how uncomfortable this situation was, as everybody's watching, not sure what to say. Do we kick her out of the room? Do we say something to Jesus? We know there was some discomfort because the host even wondered what Jesus was doing and why he didn't deal with this. But instead of running from it or dismissing it or just trying to get past this situation as fast as possible, Jesus used it to teach a story and a lesson to those who were critical of him. But more importantly, he was able to meet this woman's need in the place where she needed him most. He forgave her sins and he set her free. And it got me wondering how many times we look at uncomfortable situations as something to get past, to get through, or to run away from or avoid as quick as we can, simply because they are uncomfortable. And yet I wonder, if we began to look at our uncomfortable situations differently, we might actually have opportunities that we might have missed otherwise. So the next time you have that conversation, you get drawn into that really awkward or weird conversation, or you end up being around somebody who's just not like you and they make you really uncomfortable, or you might even say they make you feel unsafe in some way. What might happen if in that moment you chose to look at the situation not as something to get out of as fast as possible, but maybe that God put you there to meet somebody in the place of their greatest need. Now, let's be honest. Uncomfortable situations are exactly that. They're uncomfortable. We don't like them. We don't want them. And nobody likes being uncomfortable. Some of you like making other people uncomfortable, but nobody likes being uncomfortable themselves. And yet, if our perspective began to change and we began to embrace the idea that perhaps uncomfortable situations are actually assignments from God to impact others, we might find that we get to change a life. And ironically, in the midst of all that, I wonder if the life that might change the most would be our own. So, the next time you encounter an uncomfortable situation, before you run from it, avoid it, criticize it, or do it, just stop for a moment and ask, is this a chance for me to meet the need of someone else and grow in my own life in the process? Till next time, have a great week.